Zay in the house. Let's go to the nerdverse. When we talk about a prodigy in fiction, almost everyone imagines the same thing. A character who is born above average, who learns quickly, who masters skills with ease, and who often seems destined for success from the very beginning. This archetype exists in practically every genre, from shonen to medieval epics, from sci-fi to dark fantasy. But the question that is almost never asked is, what actually builds a prodigy? Is it pure talent? Is it effort? Is it trauma? Or is it the way the world looks at that character? And that is exactly what we are going to talk about today. Not only what defines a prodigy, but how this concept is used narratively, psychologically, and symbolically, and why Jujutsu Kaisen approaches this theme in a very different way from most anime in the genre. Before we continue, take a moment to leave a like on the video, because that helps the channel a lot to keep bringing deeper analyses like this one. If you enjoy content that goes beyond the obvious, subscribe and comment below what you consider a true prodigy in fiction. That really helps engagement and also gives me great ideas for future videos. When we think about the classic prodigy archetype, they almost always start with a clear gift. From an early age, the world recognizes that this person is special, and that external recognition is fundamental. A prodigy does not exist in isolation. They only truly exist when there is comparison, when someone looks and says, this person is on a level others are not. In other words, a prodigy is not just someone talented. They are someone placed on a pedestal, and that pedestal has a cost. Psychologically, prodigy characters often carry unrealistic expectations. Not only the expectations of others, but their own as well. Mistakes are no longer allowed. Failure becomes a moral flaw. And this creates a type of pressure that completely shapes the character's identity. Now, when we enter the universe of Jujutsu, the first thing that must be clear is the context. This is a brutal world. A world where teenagers are thrown into deadly battles against curses that represent the worst aspects of humanity. There is no glamour in being strong. Being strong is a basic necessity for survival, and even then death is constant. It is in this scenario that Itadori Yuji appears, and at first glance, he seems like anything but a traditional prodigy. He does not come from a famous lineage. He was not trained from childhood. He does not dream of being the strongest. On the contrary, Yuji begins the story as an ordinary boy with above average physical strength. Yes, but with no ambition whatsoever within the Jujutsu world. What drives Yuji is not the desire to stand out. It is a simple, almost naive value inherited from his grandfather, helping people and making sure no one dies alone. This detail is crucial because, unlike other shonen protagonists, Yuji does not want to win. He wants to protect. He does not seek glory. He seeks meaning. And it is precisely this naivety that places him at the center of chaos. When Yuji decides to ingest Sukuna's finger, he is not thinking about power. He is making a desperate moral choice. He accepts carrying absolute evil within himself to save others. At that moment, the prodigy Itadori Yuji is born, not through talent, but through sacrifice. If you are finding this analysis interesting so far, comment Yuji below so I know you made it to this point in the video. That helps the reach of the content a lot. From that point on, the world begins to look at Yuji differently. Gojo Satoru, who is literally the pinnacle of power in the series, recognizes something rare in him, but it is not just strength. It is narrative potential. Yuji becomes an anomaly, a vessel capable of containing Sukuna without completely losing himself. And once again, this does not come from technical training. It comes from emotional structure. But here is an important point. Being recognized as a prodigy does not mean being prepared for what that entails. Yuji enters a world where his simple beliefs are constantly crushed by reality. Every mission, every death, every failure erodes his idealistic vision of what it means to save people. The Junpei arc is perhaps the first major psychological blow to Yuji. For the first time, he forms a real bond with someone who is also lost, confused, and hurt. And when that bond is destroyed in a cruel and irreversible way, Yuji learns a painful lesson. Not everyone can be saved. And worse, sometimes trying to save someone can cause even more pain. This is a breaking point. The prodigy begins to understand that strength is not synonymous with control. that good intentions do not guarantee good outcomes. And this generates guilt, deep, silent guilt that begins to follow Yuji in every decision he makes. Here, Jujutsu Kaisen starts to deconstruct the prodigy archetype, because the more Yugi grows in power, the smaller he becomes internally. He does not feel worthy. He does not feel like a hero. He sees himself as a tool, a disposable cog in a violent system. And this fully explodes in the Shibuya arc. Shibuya is not just a narrative high point, it is a complete collapse of Yuji's identity. He witnesses death on an absurd scale. He loses allies. He is forced to face the fact that Sukuna, using his body, commits irreparable atrocities. At this moment, Yuji stops being just a boy trying to do good. He becomes someone broken, someone who begins to question whether he even has the right to continue existing. And this is extremely powerful from a narrative standpoint, because the prodigy here is not exalted, he is punished. If you're enjoying this kind of deeper analysis, leave a like now, because that signals to the algorithm that this content is worth recommending. From this point on, Yuji begins to reformulate his worldview. He understands that he cannot save everyone, but he also understands that giving up would mean validating chaos. So he chooses to continue, not out of hope, but out of responsibility. He accepts the burden of existing as someone who kills curses to reduce human suffering, even knowing that this will not make him a hero. And this is where we reach the most interesting point. What defines a prodigy in Jujutsu Kaisen is not raw talent, but the ability to keep going, even when everything has lost its meaning. Yuji is not special because he is strong. He is special because he carries guilt and pain and still chooses to act. When we analyze the domains, symbolism, and narrative choices surrounding Yuji, it becomes clear that he does not represent victory. He represents the cost of existing in an unjust world, the cost of making difficult choices, the cost of being seen as someone special when inside you only feel exhausted. And this divides the audience. Many people criticize Yuji's development, especially in more recent phases of the manga, but perhaps that happens because we expect a prodigy to be rewarded, when in reality, Jujutsu Kaisen is telling a story about how the world consumes its prodigies. And now I want to know what you think. Do you believe Yuji is an unfairly treated prodigy or a poorly utilized character? Comment below, because I read all the comments and they generate really great discussions. To close, Jujutsu Kaisen shows us that creating a prodigy is not just about giving a character power. It is about placing them in front of moral dilemmas, irreversible losses, and choices with no right answer. Yuji Itadori is not a symbol of victory. He is a symbol of resistance. If you enjoyed this video, share it with someone who also likes anime and deeper analysis. That helps the channel grow a lot. Subscribe so you do not miss the next videos, because there is still a lot to explore within Jujutsu Kaisen and other universes. And comment below which character you want to see analyzed in the next video.